The unexpected arrival. The holographic display on Finn Sullivan's desk flickered for the third time that night, casting an eerie blue glow across his cramped apartment office. Outside, Seattle's perpetual rain drummed against the windows, creating a rhythm that usually helped him focus. Tonight, however, something felt different. Finn rubbed his tired eyes, wondering if he should have accepted that promotion at Quantum Analytics instead of staying in his comfortable but monotonous position as a data analyst. The clock on his wall read 11:47 p.m., another late night trying to make sense of anomalous patterns in his company's satellite data. The strangest part. The anomalies had started appearing exactly 1 week ago, all centered around a particular point in the Earth's orbit. As a man of science and numbers, Finn couldn't shake the feeling that he was looking at something unprecedented. A soft humming sound filled the room, barely noticeable at first but growing steadily louder. Finn's coffee mug began to vibrate, then his monitor, then his entire desk. He stood up, knocking over his chair as a patch of air in the corner of his room began to shimmer and twist like heat waves rising from hot pavement. "This can't be happening," he muttered, reaching for his phone to record whatever was unfolding in his apartment. Before he could press record, the shimmering air collapsed inward with a soft pop, and a figure stepped through. She was tall, with skin that seemed to shift between deep purple and midnight blue, like the northern lights dancing across a night sky. Her hair floated as if suspended in water, containing what looked like tiny, twinkling stars. But most striking were her eyes. They were completely silver, with no pupils, yet somehow conveyed more emotion than any human eyes Finn had ever seen. The being smiled, revealing teeth that looked like perfectly cut diamonds. "Greetings, Finn Sullivan of Earth. I am Ambassador Solara of the Cygnian Embassy." She glanced around his apartment, taking in the scattered coffee cups and takeout containers. "I apologize for the unconventional arrival, but standard diplomatic channels have been compromised." Finn opened his mouth, closed it, then opened it again. How do you know my name?" Solara's smile widened. "We've been monitoring your work on the satellite anomalies. You're the only human who noticed our cloaked ships." She took a step forward, and Finn noticed that her feet didn't quite touch the ground. "Unfortunately, others have noticed as well. Less friendly others." A distant explosion rocked the building, and Solara's expression turned serious. "I need your help, Finn Sullivan. According to the ancient accords of the Galactic Council, when a diplomatic representative seeks asylum, they must bond with a citizen of the host planet." She extended her hand, which seemed to glow from within. "Will you accept?" Before Finn could respond, his apartment door burst open. Two figures in sleek black armor rushed in, their helmets featuring red visors that seemed to scan the room. Solara moved with impossible speed, placing herself between Finn and the intruders. "Last chance, Ambassador," one of them growled in a voice that sounded like grinding metal. "Return the data crystal, and perhaps the council will be lenient." Solara's hair began to pulse with light, and she spoke in a voice that seemed to echo through multiple dimensions. "You have no jurisdiction here. This is a protected planet, and I have already initiated the bonding protocol with a local citizen." The armored figures looked at each other, then at Finn, who was still trying to process how his ordinary evening had turned into something out of a science fiction movie. "Him?" the second figure asked, incredulous. "He's a level 2 civilization data processor. He doesn't even have neural augments." "Hey," Finn found himself saying, surprising even himself. "I have a master's degree in quantum computing." Solara's laughter sounded like crystal wind chimes. "See? Perfect match." She turned to Finn, her silver eyes intense. "Finn Sullivan, do you accept the bond? It must be voluntary, and it must be now." Another explosion, closer this time. The armored figures raised weapons that definitely weren't standard Earth technology. Through the window, Finn could see more ships appearing in the sky, their cloaking technology failing to hide them from his now aware eyes. In that moment, looking at this impossible being who had literally stepped out of thin air and into his life, Finn made a decision that would change not only his future but potentially the future of two civilizations. "I accept," he said, reaching for her glowing hand. "But I have so many questions." Solara's smile turned mysterious as their fingers touched, sending a surge of energy through Finn's entire body. "And I have so many answers. But first, we need to survive." The armored figures opened fire just as Solara pulled Finn into what appeared to be a portal, her last words echoing in his mind, "Welcome to the galaxy, my bonded. I hope you're ready for an adventure. Chase through the stars." The quantum alarm shrieked through the embassy just as the light being was about to speak. Solara's grip on Finn's hand tightened. "They're here," she whispered, her stellar hair crackling with energy. "Who's here?" Finn asked, though through their strengthening bond, he could already sense her rising dread. The geometric being's perfect angles twisted in what might have been a smile. "Ah, right on schedule. The Void Hunters." The embassy's crystalline walls darkened as massive ships appeared in Earth's orbit, their hulls seeming to absorb both light and hope. Finn had never seen anything so terrifying. They looked like pieces of darkness torn from the space between stars. "The Council's elite enforcement division," Solara explained quickly, her silver eyes scanning the room. "They don't officially exist, which means they're not bound by any diplomatic protocols." The gaseous council member began to expand, filling the room with sweet-smelling mist. "Surrender the data crystal, Ambassador, and perhaps we can arrange for your human pet to have his memory wiped humanely." Instead of answering, Solara pulled Finn close, her lips brushing his ear. "Do you trust me? Considering the alternative is getting my brain erased by space cops." "Absolutely." Her laugh was like wind chimes in a storm. She pressed something into his hand, a small crystal that pulsed with rainbow light. "Hold on tight, my unexpected bondmate. This might get interesting." Before anyone could react, Solara raised her free hand. The garden's light bridges suddenly bent, creating a kaleidoscope of energy that filled the room. The council representatives screamed in harmonized outrage as reality itself seemed to twist. "You can't," the geometric being started to say, but Solara was already moving. "Emergency quantum fold," she shouted. "Authorization, Starborn Protocol." The world turned inside out again, but this time Finn was ready for it. The embassy dissolved around them, replaced by a swirling tunnel of light and possibility. Through their bond, he could feel Solara guiding them, surfing the quantum waves like a cosmic dancer. They emerged in what appeared to be a marketplace floating in space, held together by bridges of pure energy. Alien beings of every conceivable shape and size haggled over goods that defied physics. A three-headed merchant was selling what looked like bottled starlight, while a creature made entirely of geometric patterns offered slightly used black holes. "Welcome to the Nexus," Solara said, steadying him as his human brain tried to process the impossible scene. "The largest free trading post in 7 galaxies. No jurisdiction, no rules except one, all species welcome, no questions asked." "It's..." Finn struggled to find words. "Beautiful. Terrifying. Impossible." "Keep moving," Solara urged, though he could sense her pleasure at his wonder through their bond. "The Void Hunters can track quantum signatures. We need to find alternative transport." They wove through the crowd, passing stalls selling everything from time-frozen moments to consciousness downloads. Finn noticed that many of the traders and customers were staring at them, particularly at Solara, whose diplomatic status seemed to be well known. "There," she said suddenly, pulling him toward what looked like a shipyard suspended in space. Vessels of all sizes and configurations floated in energy docks, from sleek silver needles to organic-looking craft that seemed to be alive. "Solara," a voice boomed. A massive being that appeared to be made of living crystal approached them, facets shifting to create expressions. "Finally decided to take me up on that offer to see the Cascade Nebula?" "Not today," Zex, Solara replied. We need something fast, untraceable, and ready now. The crystal being's facets rearranged into what might have been concern. Void hunters? Among others. Ah. Zex's crystalline form sparkled with what seemed like amusement. In that case, might I suggest the Starcaller? Just finished upgrading her quantum drive. She's not pretty, but she'll outrun anything the Council has. A small ship floated nearby, its hull covered in what looked like scales that shifted colors constantly. Through their bond, Finn felt Solara's approval mixed with something else, nostalgia. You kept her, she said softly. Knew you'd be back someday, Zex rumbled. Though I didn't expect you to bring a human bondmate. Things must be worse than I thought. Before Solara could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the Nexus. The marketplace erupted into chaos as traders quickly packed up their impossible wares. Through gaps in the crowd, Finn caught glimpses of figures in dark armor methodically making their way toward them. The crystal, Solara said urgently, indicating the one she'd given him earlier. It's not just data, it's a key. The ship will respond to it. Get aboard and start the initialization sequence. I'll handle our pursuers. I'm not leaving you, Finn protested, surprised by the strength of emotion behind his words. Through their bond, he felt her surprise and warmth at his declaration. Trust goes both ways, she reminded him with a smile that lit up her entire being. I'll be right behind you. Now go. As Finn raced toward the ship, crystal in hand, he heard Solara begin to sing. The sound was like nothing he'd ever heard, pure energy given voice, resonating with the very fabric of spacetime. The Void Hunters stumbled, their armor cracking under the harmonic assault. The ship's hull rippled as he approached, a door materializing from the shifting scales. Inside, the cockpit was a marvel of organic technology, with controls that seemed to grow from living crystal. The key crystal in his hand pulsed, and the ship responded, systems coming alive with a purr that vibrated through his bones. Through their bond, he felt Solara's satisfaction mixed with urgency. Her song was weakening, holding off the Void Hunters was taking its toll. Without thinking, Finn reached through their connection, offering his own energy, his own determination. The effect was immediate and stunning. Solara's song strengthened, harmonic overtones spreading through the Nexus like waves of starlight. The Void Hunter's armor began to shatter completely, revealing the shadows within. Solara took advantage of their momentary weakness to sprint toward the ship, her stellar hair blazing with renewed power. She vaulted through the doorway just as the first replacement hunters appeared, their weapons charging with dark energy. Go, she shouted, sliding into the co-pilot's seat. Her hands danced over the crystal controls, and the ship responded like a living thing, breaking free from its dock. As they accelerated away from the Nexus, Finn caught a glimpse of their reflection in a passing solar sail. The ship's scales now matched Solara's shifting skin perfectly, as if the vessel itself had synchronized with their bond. That was incredible, he said, still buzzing from their shared power moment. I've never felt anything like it. Solara's silver eyes met his, full of wonder and something deeper. Neither have I. The bond, it's not supposed to be this strong this quickly. Somehow, you're amplifying it. Is that bad? No, she said softly, reaching for his hand. But it means the Council was right to be afraid. Together, we might actually be able to expose their corruption. Are you ready to see my homeworld? The ship's quantum drive hummed to life as Finn squeezed her hand. Lead the way, Ambassador. I have a feeling this is just the beginning. Diplomatic complications. Teleporting, Finn decided, felt like being turned inside out while riding a roller coaster through a thunderstorm. When the world finally stopped spinning, he found himself in what appeared to be a luxurious suite with walls that shifted colors like mood rings. Solara steadied him as he swayed on his feet, her touch sending pleasant tingles through his arm. First jump sickness is normal, she said softly. Just breathe. We're safe in my private quarters at the Cygnian Embassy's Earth outpost. The what? Finn managed, taking in the impossible architecture around him. The ceiling seemed to be made of living crystal that pulsed with gentle light, and through what looked like a window, he could see Earth floating in space. How long was I unconscious? Approximately 3.7 seconds, Solara replied, moving to what appeared to be a control panel made of flowing liquid metal. The quantum jump was necessary to avoid the Sentinel forces. They'll be scanning all conventional transportation methods. As his head cleared, Finn noticed subtle changes in Solara's appearance. Her stellar hair seemed dimmer, and her skin had lost some of its ethereal glow. You're hurt, he realized. She waved off his concern, though he could sense her fatigue through their newly formed bond. The jump took more energy than anticipated. I'll recover. She paused, studying him with those mesmerizing silver eyes. You're handling this remarkably well for someone who just discovered interstellar civilization exists. I'm probably in shock, Finn admitted, then smiled wryly. Also, I've watched every science fiction show ever made. This is like every dream I had as a kid coming true at once. His expression turned serious. But I think it's time you told me what's really going on. Why me? What data crystal were those Sentinels talking about? Solara's expression shifted, becoming both vulnerable and determined. The crystal contains evidence of corruption within the Galactic Council. Certain members have been secretly manipulating less advanced civilizations, including Earth, steering their development for personal profit. She approached him, her movement graceful despite her obvious exhaustion. As for your work analyzing the satellite data showed not just intelligence, but integrity. You noticed patterns others missed, yet you kept investigating quietly, methodically, without drawing attention. We need more of that in the galaxy. A soft chime echoed through the room, and one wall became transparent, revealing a garden that defied physics, floating islands covered in bioluminescent plants, connected by bridges made of pure light. Standing in the garden was a tall figure with features that seemed to blend feline and avian characteristics. Ambassador, the figure called out, their voice melodious but urgent. The council's representatives have arrived. They're demanding to speak with you and your new bondmate. Finn felt Solara tense beside him. Already? That's faster than even I anticipated. She turned to him, taking both his hands in hers. Finn, listen carefully. The bond we initiated isn't just diplomatic protection, it's an ancient ritual that creates a genuine connection between two beings. The Council can't separate us without violating laws older than Earth's civilization, but they'll try to prove the bond isn't genuine. How do we prove it is? Finn asked, trying to ignore how right it felt to hold her hands, how the bond between them seemed to hum with energy. We have to demonstrate genuine emotional and mental synchronization, she explained. The bond creates the potential, but it needs authentic feelings to become permanent. She bit her lip, a surprisingly human gesture. I know this is asking a lot, but... Finn squeezed her hands. You appeared in my apartment through a quantum portal, saved me from armed attackers, and showed me that humanity isn't alone in the universe. If that's not enough to create genuine feelings, I don't know what is. Her smile lit up the room, literally, as the crystals in the ceiling pulsed in response to her emotions. Then let's give the Council a show they won't forget. She leaned closer, her stellar hair brushing his cheek. Ready to scandalize some stuffy galactic politicians? Before Finn could respond, the main doors slid open with a hiss. 3 beings entered, one appeared to be made of living light, another seemed to shift between solid and gaseous states, and the third was so geometrically perfect it hurt to look at them directly. Ambassador Solara, the light being spoke, their voice like sunshine through prisms. You stand accused of theft, unauthorized bonding with a pre-contact species, and... They paused dramatically, improper use of diplomatic quantum tunneling technology. Solara straightened, every inch the regal diplomat despite her fatigue. I invoke the right of sanctuary through sacred bond, as established by the first contact protocols of the ancient accords. The geometric being's perfect angles seem to sharpen. You really expect us to believe you formed a genuine bond with this, primitive? Finn felt a flash of indignation, both his own and Solara's. The bond between them flared, and suddenly he could sense her thoughts, her feelings, her absolute certainty that she'd made the right choice. Without conscious decision, he stepped forward, his hand finding hers. I may be primitive by your standards, he said, surprised by the steadiness in his voice, but I can recognize corruption when I see it. The real question is, what are you so afraid we'll discover? The chamber fell silent as the council representatives exchanged looks. The game was on, and the stakes were higher than just their bond. The future of Earth's relationship with the galactic community hung in the balance.